Welcome one and all, I'm Alexis, aka The Sloth Reader, and I'm here today to wrap up audiobooks numbers 16 through 20 that I've read in 2018. So as I said when I wrapped up numbers 11 through 15 that I had listened to, I have been listening to so many audiobooks lately. I don't know why. Earlier in the year I could only listen to like 2 or 3, now I'm averaging 4 to 5 a month. Again, in the month of June, I've read 5 of them. So the first one I read in June was We Are Okay by Nina LaCour, read by Georgiana Marie. And I really liked this audiobook. I think Georgiana Marie did a really great job of bringing the main character Marin to life. I don't know if I would have even had necessarily as emotional connection to the story as I did without the narrator, because I just think that Georgiana Marie's very melodious and almost dreamlike voice really helped to sell the grief and the loneliness that Marin was going through. And I just felt like the story, because it was so short, worked really well on audiobook because it was like a perfect length. I feel like if I would have read it physically, it would have felt way too short for me, whereas it still felt short with the audiobook, but I still really just felt like I connected to it more deeply listening to the story rather than I would have reading the story. There really aren't that many characters in this story. There's only about 4 or 5 that have pretty consistent speaking roles. So I feel like Georgiana Marie did a good job with the roles that she was given. I don't know how far she could have taken her different voices if it was a larger cast, but I feel like it really worked well for this story. Audiobook number 17 was George by Alex Gino, read by Jamie Clayton. This is another one that I feel like I wouldn't have loved as much if I would have tried to read it physically. I feel like Jamie Clayton did such a great job reading the story and really nailing George's voice and really portraying George's emotions, and I feel like Jamie Clayton really did a good job with making George seem young, because in this book the main character George is in 4th grade, I think, if I remember correctly, and Jamie Clayton's voice I feel like fit that, and I feel like Jamie Clayton's voice really fit that character. The voice wasn't too mature to portray George, it was just the right amount of childishness without being unbearably childishness to listen to, and I really feel like it was a very successfully done audiobook. This is another one, the audiobook is very short. It's only like 3.5 hours, which I feel like was just perfect. It was the perfect little amount to read and really fall in love with this story, and again, I feel like the audiobook was really good. Audiobook number 18 was To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo, read by Jacob York and Stephanie Willis. I adored the audiobook for this story. I feel like the audiobook really sold the characters in the story to me, because we have 2 different main characters and the story is told from 2 different points of view, and I love it when we have 2 different narrators for each point of view. I feel like that's the best way to do an audiobook that has dual points of view, and I really feel like both of the narrators, Stephanie Willis and Jacob York, did an incredible job on each of their respective characters. Like, I cannot picture any other voice in the world as Lyra or as the prince, whose name I can't remember at this moment, I'm sorry. But I feel like both of the narrators did such a great job, especially because Lyra is a dark character, you know, she's a siren and she's killed people, and I feel like Stephanie Willis's voice was husky and kind of gave off like a predator feel, which was perfect for Lyra's character. And I feel like Jacob York's voice was so princely to me. It kind of did have that cocky, not a care in the world like tone to it, which I feel like really fit the character, and both of them did a great job doing multiple voices for the cast of characters in this story. And overall, I just really liked the audiobook. I feel like part of the reason I loved the story as much as I did is because of how much I really liked the audiobook narrations. So, really enjoyed the audiobooks for this one. Audiobook number 18 was Under the Udala Trees by Chinelo Okparanta, and it was read by Robin Miles. This is the second audiobook I've read by Robin Miles, and she is swiftly becoming one of my favorite narrators. Her voice is incredible, and the tone and the way that she gets into the characters, like the fact that I've read 2 totally different books read by her, but I have no problem being like, oh, this is Robin Miles reading Idioma for Under the Utala Trees. Like, the fact that she can sell me on different characters from different stories and I have no problem 100% believing that is awesome. Like, it's great. She's a great narrator. And I feel like Under the Udala Trees was a perfect book to read on audiobook because it does take place in Nigeria, which means there are a lot of indigenous Nigerian words used. There are different tribes mentioned. There are whole songs that are sung in native tongue, which Robin Miles does sing. There are whole stories that have tidbits told in native tongue, and it's perfect. And you guys know that I'm a huge fan of reading books that have foreign to you words in them and listening to them on audiobook, because 9 times out of 10 you're gonna get a narrator who knows how these words are supposed to sound, and it just sells the experience. And that is exactly what happened with Under the Udala Trees, read by Robin Miles. I highly recommend listening to this one on audiobook, or honestly just anything by Robin Miles. I just think that she is an incredible narrator. And the last book I'm going to mention is one I'm technically still listening to at the time of filming this, because it's not quite the end of the month yet, but that is Of Fire and Stars, written by Audrey Coulter, read by Saskia Marlvold and Moira Quirk. And this is another one where there are 2 different points of views and they have a respective narrator for each point of view, and I feel like it really works with Of Fire and Stars. I don't know that I would enjoy Of Fire and Stars as much if I were physically reading it, because I do feel like both Moira Quirk and Saskia Marlvold really bring their characters to life. It's another case where Saskia Marlvold does have a huskier voice, which is how Mare's voice in text is described, and so I'm like, good, she's perfect for the role. And I've listened to other things by Moira Quirk in the past, and she does a really good job with a princess character or a queenly character, because she does have a very regal voice, and you know, it just works. Like, these 2 people just work so well with the characters they're given in Of Fire and Stars, and they do such a good job of bringing them to life. And one of the things I have to admit I really like about this book is that when the other character is speaking, it sounds like them. When Moira Quirk is narrating, the voice she gives Mare does kind of sound like Saskia Marlvold's voice, and the voice that Saskia Marlvold gives Denna during Mare's chapters almost kind of sounds like the voice Moira Quirk does, and it's weirdly successful, and it works perfect, and it feels so seamless to the storytelling, and it's really good. I really highly recommend, if you've been thinking about picking up Of Fire and Stars, I highly recommend picking it up on audio, because I really feel like it's a great one to read on audio. Alrighty guys, so those were the next 5 audiobooks I listened to. I probably will have another one of these at the end of July, beginning of August, because I have been on a roll with audiobooks recently, and I've really been enjoying every audiobook I've listened to. Alrighty guys, I would love to know down in the comments below what audiobooks you've been listening to and loving recently. If you like what I do, upload videos on Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, and I'll see you guys soon with another one. Bye!